It's a pleasure to be sharing this session with you. I think we have about 1 hour, right, to talk about how to analyze a case study. In the program here, in the IMB program at Bocconi, we start the program, the first term, with a course on complex problem thinking, which is essentially about tackling one case after another and provide some structure, some frameworks to analyze complex cases, complex case studies, which in the world of business, pretty much all of them have that quality, right? They are not simple problems that are solved with a formula, but complex situations that require good tools to be addressed. Very quickly about me. Originally from Spain and originally from an engineering background, but then moving towards management, business administration with an MBA and a PhD. And in 2007, I joined Bocconi University. I've been there in the strategy department since then. And in 2018, I was appointed Dean of SD Bocconi Asia Center. So I'm based in Mumbai. I live here since then. And it's been quite exciting past 5 years, right? In many ways, both in terms of the growth of the school and in the terms of all the things that have happened in the world. It's an excellent time to be in India. Lots of things happening, and let's get into the topic of our session, right? As we go along, please feel free to raise your hand, to ask questions, to make comments. I will be asking questions because usually anytime we do a session, especially my sessions in strategy, whether it's a case or not, the interesting thing and the fundamental learning methodology is that there is a bit of a conversation, right, between me and you guys. So there's a back and forth. Don't feel like you need to have an excellent idea, right, to simply share what is in your mind. The one important point, and the first one that I would make about solving cases, is that when we think about how to discuss or how to solve, and I put quotes on that, solve case studies, it's a lot about structure. Right? Structure is very important, and that's why we are doing sessions about it. Right? It's not just pure knowledge of the business world or of companies, just having information, but it's about thinking in a structured way. But structure doesn't mean, and sometimes we confuse it, structure doesn't mean that case studies have a solution. Discussing a case study is not like a math problem where we apply some formulas and we get the right answer. Discussing and solving, quote unquote, a case study is never about finding the right answer. And you can carry this with you, for any time you are addressing a case study. And that means anytime you have an interview that has a case study in it, the interviewer is likely not focusing on you finding the right answer, but you presenting a good process of thinking about that problem, of addressing that problem. Okay? Or when you are in the real world and you are actually making decisions in a company, right? Again, it's not about providing the right answer, right? Managers don't solve problems. Managers make decisions. Right? And those decisions are the best they can come up with, right? After all the analysis they've done, after all the experience they apply, it's the best they can come up. It doesn't necessarily mean that those decisions are the right answer. Sometimes a lot of these problems don't have a right answer, a correct answer. It's about structure. It's about following a process in which we make sure that we don't forget to ask the right questions. It means that we follow some structures so we find the information that is best applicable to that problem. And that's what structure is for. The first piece of structure that I would propose to you, and the way we'll do this session essentially is I'm gonna give you a very simple process, and we're gonna start applying it to a specific example, and we talk about it. Is this very simple 5-step process to address a case study, to discuss a case study. Okay? Number one step, define the core problem or opportunity at hand. Okay? Don't start talking about the company or a case study or whatever solution comes to your mind before you have a clear idea of what is the goal of that discussion. Okay? Are we discussing a case study that is about making an investment and the decision is whether we should make that investment or not, whether we should buy that company or not, whether we should change that process or not, whether you should launch the product or not? Okay? Always make sure that you have very clear in mind what is the end goal of that discussion. This has to be a decision in there. So what is the thing that we are trying to answer, right? In the clearest possible formulation that you can have. Right? That helps the discussion a lot because it basically focuses the analysis, right? Once you know what the end goal is and the kind of answer or like the question that you're addressing, then you know which frameworks and what kind of information you need to look for, right? And how do you need to analyze that information. Define the core problem opportunity at hand. The second step is to diagnose the roots of that problem. And sometimes some sessions that we run in the classroom on cases, some case studies, are about stopping there, right? Maybe there is a case where you're only asked to diagnose the situation, right? Not necessarily to continue choosing and making decisions, but just diagnose the problem. Okay, that's already a lot of work, and because when you're capable of diagnosing problems correctly, the answers come much more easily, much more easily. Karishma, you raise your hand. You have a question. Okay, please, you raise your hand if you have questions about what we are going through. Okay, what we are going about the content. If you have questions about something else, put it on the chat. But for example, Uzma, I don't know if you have a question. Okay, seems like maybe someone is testing the button, but not really with the purpose. Second step, diagnose the roots of the problem or opportunity. And that usually involves using some frameworks and using a lot of analysis, right, to get as deep as possible into diagnosing those roots. Number three, generate 3 or 4 viable options to address the problem. It's a discipline that if you want to get good at discussing case studies, you need to avoid the temptation to simply focus on the option that comes first to your mind and that sounds most attractive as a solution. We have that bias. It's very easy to look at the problem and say, oh, the solution is that they change that product. And then all your analysis is about that solution. That's not how a manager should think. We should expand a little bit the lens and generate 3, 4, if you generate 10 options, then it's too much, right? But 3, 4 good alternatives to solve the problem, analyze each one, then we'll choose. Maybe in the end, we'll choose the one that our intuition was telling us at the beginning it was the right one. But we cannot start by simply focusing on that intuition alone. Generate those 3, 4 viable options, analyze those options. That also includes information and data analysis using frameworks that facilitate, right, analyzing those options, etc., and choose one. And that's also a discipline, being able to choose, right? Because sometimes those options, once you do the full analysis, none of them really stands out as a perfect solution. Right? So the ability to commit to one solution, to one answer, is key in being a good manager. Managers are not only people who have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge about what they're doing, but most of all, I would say there are people who can make decisions, who can actually choose. And sometimes making those decisions is difficult because you are committing a lot of resources. You are committing a lot of people's efforts. and you might be putting the fate of the company, right, or the fate of the business on the line with that decision. So that is a tough decision to make, right? The ability to actually make it, right, is crucial in being a good manager. And finally, point number 5, let's not forget it. Once we've chosen that path, that solution to follow, there's got to be an implementation plan, right? How do we turn that into practice? How do we make that happen in the company? Right? And we'll see it in the example, the difference between making the big decision amongst the 3 or 4 options that we have, and then implementing that decision in the actual world, in the company, in practice, for everybody in the company to follow. That's the fifth step. Simple, right? Any doubt about these 5 steps? Roshan. Yes.
Please check out question and answer section, Q&A section. I've posted the question there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one question.
Yeah.
So at times we might not be required to choose an option at all. The company would be evaluating whether we should proceed with a plan or not. So how can we choose one option? Because one of our options should be to not take any action.
Well, it can be that one of the options is continuing what you're doing. Yes, but that's still an option, right? That is the option that you're going to choose, that you're going to analyze. What are the pros and cons of continuing the same investment or the same product or product decisions that we've been using in the recent past. That can be and often is one of those 3-4 options. But it is very, very good to put that option next to some other 2 or 3 that are different, because we have that bias, and many managers have a very strong bias in choosing what they've been doing in the recent past just because it's the thing that they know, just because it's the thing that is already in place. And we have a lot of rigidity in that sense of, let's stay with what we've been doing. And that blinds them, right, to better options. Right? Just that constant need of, maybe this is okay so far, but what if we did this other thing? Does it look better? Okay? But short answer to your question, the status quo should be one of the options most of the time. Yes.
Okay, sir,
yep.
I have asked about the question, like, so the whole step depends on hit and trial and observing which method really fits in.
When you say method, you mean the frameworks that we use
process, this 5-step process is a hit and trial approach, or is it what you say, original or authentic approach to all the case studies, solving all the case studies?
It's a general approach to any kind of case study, right? Any kind of case study can, as you see, it's very generic. Right?
So how can we identify that this solution really fits in or something like that?
Well, because the options that you're going to generate are particular of every case that you're addressing. As you're going to see in the example, we're going to follow this process, but every case study requires different frameworks to analyze the roots of the problem. Every case study will generate different options. Every case study will end up with a different plan. Okay? Sir, so the general process is the same, but once we apply it to a specific case, right, then it becomes specific of that case.
Okay. Or if the if we can't reach up to the end process, like not with the exact solution, what should we do?
Well, you're saying exact solution, but there isn't an exact solution.
I think, like you have said before in the initial, like we can't really make a solution out of like a problem or a case. It is not like a math problem, like you are solving such problem. So I am asking about if we didn't get up to that like level or solution, like we can't approach that case with
Yes, we
a
can.
yes.
Yes, of course
So
we can.
what should we do?
The point that I'm making is that that case probably doesn't have an exact solution, but what you have to do a good analysis of the case is diagnose the problem, provide some options, and then give me one of those options with a good argument that that's the right way to go.
Okay.
That's what
sir.
I'm expecting from someone who's analyzing a case, right? That you have a strong argument to defend that choice that you made among those options that solve the problem. Okay, that's the
Thank you,
the
sir.
goal too. Okay, let's move on. I know that there are going to be questions, but we're going to continue answering them as we go along, because what I want to do is apply this to Tesla, right? Tesla is always an interesting company to talk about. Lots of good things and lots of things that are question marks. And what I'm curious about and want to discuss with you and use this framework for thinking about it is trying to understand and address the problem that Tesla seems to be having of dropping its value. Right? As you can see in this graph, and we're talking here about market value, right? So the price of the shares of Tesla, which with some noise are sort of reflective of what the market thinks Tesla is worth, right? How strong the market thinks Tesla is. You see that the price of the shares from the past year has pretty much decreased to 1/4 of the price at the beginning of the year. Right? It started somewhere around $400, and now we are in the vicinity of 100. Right? So let's apply the steps of our process to the case of Tesla to understand why the value has dropped so much and what Tesla should do about it. And when we're talking about Tesla, we're talking about the car manufacturing company. Tesla is a little bit more, of course, but 85% of the sales come from the cars of Tesla company, and more than 90% of the profits come from the cars. So when we are looking at this company, we are looking at this company as a car manufacturer, and we're talking about a car making company. Right. So the problem as defined is this one, right? We have a problem, our valuation is dropping, and what should we do about it? Okay? Let's try to diagnose the problem a little bit more deeply, okay? And one very simple but helpful sort of conceptual little division that helps thinking about the roots of a problem is to think in terms of external factors and internal factors. Where should we look for the real causes, drivers of this drop in valuation? On the external part, so whatever is outside the company, or on the internal part? Is it about the environment, the industry, the economy, the world, or is it about what Tesla does and what Tesla is, or some aspects of it? Okay? I would like to launch a poll very quickly now, so you can all give your opinion. And please, Avisha or Kabar, let's launch the first poll. So for you to tell me if you think the biggest contributor to this drop in valuation is external factors, like the fear of a recession, the general downward trend of the market, etc., or you think it's internal factors like Tesla's strategy, right? Their business model. Very good. So we're filling up. Very good. So now we're slowing down. Maybe we can stop the poll here. Right? We get an idea, and we have a perfect 75, now 74 to 26% definitely the majority of you guys think that this is about the external environment, okay? Which is also what Elon Musk has been telling us, right? It's not my fault, right? It's the outside. What kind of external factors, the people who said external factors, what kind of external factors do you have in mind as causing this valuation drop? Yeah, go ahead, whoever raised the hand first. Yeah, someone, go ahead.
Sir,
Yeah.
can you please tell me how I can identify if I would be the right match or something like I would be a good fit as a business analyst? Like what
Sorry,
kind of
this is not
qualities
a question for the session that we are doing. We can answer it later, but we're talking about the case.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I believe the host, sir, am I audible?
Yeah.
I believe few of the external factors could be the post-COVID impact on various industries, including Tesla, the automobile one, and also the ongoing recession.
Right. Okay, fair enough, right? So one possibility would be that there are recession fears. People think that it's coming, and the car industry is going to be severely affected because during recessions, the car industry suffers, and thus Tesla will suffer. So there is a drop in that valuation. Okay? Fair enough. Any other external reason? An internal reason. Anybody who was in the 25% that said it's an internal factor? Preeti?
Yeah, I'm to that external factor. One external factor I can say that it breaches since Tesla has all that connection to the GPS and system, so it's like breaching the policy of what to say privacy. So people like in the UAE, they don't want the privacy policy to be breached, so they are avoiding to get the Tesla. So maybe
Okay.
that is one point.
Okay, good. Internal factor. Anybody has an internal factor that would cause this drop in valuation? Like something about the company, not about the environment. Sanket?
Yes, sir. Actually, I think the internal factor will be the competitors. Actually, we can come up across with the new companies launching their own vehicles, which is cost effective and which is having the same features but have more than that. Including that, they're trying to come across with awareness. Like I think Tesla is not. It's only focusing on the problem that it's have currently. It's not moving towards the innovative things. So. Yeah, competitor is one of the most important factor, internal factor it comes from.
So one potential internal factor is understanding what is the relative strength of Tesla relative to the competitors, right? In making cars, in the different aspects of making cars. It could be on the marketing side, it could be on the innovation on the product side, it could be on the manufacturing side, etc. Okay? So this is an example of an internal factor. Now, good, but I want to make a point here, right? Without structure, we all have ideas. We can all brainstorm the roots of the problem, right? If we are asked this question, why is the valuation dropping? We've read the newspapers, right? There's a bunch of things in there. We've heard things. We have our own intuitions. So we can definitely brainstorm our way into the roots of a problem. We can propose a number of things. A better way is to use analytical frameworks. And that goes back to the point of applying structure. Otherwise, a case is just an entire brainstorm of thoughts, right? That people are throwing in the classroom, back and forth. And that's not always very precise and very well thought out, right? It's kind of like the first thought that comes to my mind. That's what I think is the reason. Right? What frameworks help you with is to give time-tested ways of thinking about that diagnosis. Frameworks, concepts that, as I say, time-tested, right, have been applied many times with effectiveness, right? Have been shown to be effective at diagnosing things, problems like this. And that also cover the full or almost the full spectrum of possibilities. Right? Again, not just focusing on the first thing that comes to mind, but seeing the entire space of possible reasons why Tesla is in that situation. So when we use things that maybe sound familiar to you, right? Especially if you have a business background in your bachelor's, like Porter's 5 forces, right? Or the PESTEL framework. Right? These are ways to be a little bit more precise and accurate in understanding the external factors that can affect Tesla's situation. And when we are looking internally, also we have some frameworks that we can apply to do a more thorough, more precise analysis of what kind of drivers of this problem might there be. So this is important, right? One of the biggest things we try to correct in our program is to learn to separate yourself a little bit from your intuitions and apply more analysis. And then maybe your intuitions can be added to that, and some might be very valuable, but learn to not simply follow the first thing or the second thing that comes to your mind. That's one of the biggest unlearnings that one has to do, right? In a program like this, in a master like this, but also then when you go and work in companies, right? Simply be able to analyze more things, more factors. Anyways, these are some examples of frameworks that we use to diagnose problems. So let's use on the internal side, because I see that you guys kind of, I was expecting that. We're a lot for saying that the reason is the external environment. So let's focus a little bit more on the analysis of the internal environment. Okay. And for that, let's use a very simple framework that we use a lot in strategy. That is about asking or applying 3 tests to the business model of Tesla. Now, we need a way to picture the business model. So that's already a framework in right there, right? How do we picture, how do we map the business model of Tesla? There is a way to do it very, very easily, very quickly, which is to simply describe Tesla's value proposition. Right? That is essentially describe the benefits of the product. What is Tesla giving to the customer with that car? Value proposition, number 1. Number 2, the customer segment that Tesla is targeting. Right? It's a choice that companies make, right? Which customer segment should we target among all the possibilities? And number 3, the resources and capabilities, right? The company's skills that are required to deliver that value proposition. Right? What key assets, what key organizational skills Tesla needs to deliver that particular car to that particular customer. And the revenue model, which is essentially how does Tesla make money? And can Tesla make money with this product and this segment and these resources? Okay? It's the money question, essentially, of the business model. So these 4 elements are a good summary of a business model. You can apply it to any company. Okay? If we apply it to Tesla, how would it look like? For example, what kind of feature or characteristic would you use to describe Tesla's value proposition? Just give me one. Which kind of benefit, right? Particular benefit, specific benefit do you think you get with a Tesla car?
The auto drive, I don't know the name of the feature.
For example, the
self-driven cars.
Yes, so the self-driving feature is part of the value proposition. Okay, good. Can you think of another one?
Yes, it runs on electricity.
Right? The fact that it's an electric car, so it has some environmental benefits, right? For example, Paras.
And economically, it is cheaper to use in a long run.
So there is that savings in fuel. You don't need to,
Yes,
to buy
yes.
fuel, etc. Yes. So these are benefits in the value proposition, right? Which customer segment do you think Tesla is targeting?
Higher
Elite
income group.
customers,
Raise your hand, please.
premium car segment customers.
Yeah, so on the high end, right, of the spectrum, right, the high end segments. Okay, very good, very good. And tell me one capability that Tesla absolutely needs, right? One asset or one capability that is critical to Tesla's being Tesla.
EV along with the being a self-driven car.
Software, right? Yes.
I would say that Tesla's main target segment would be people who want electric vehicles for the status, but alongside the electric vehicle being a luxury brand, a premium car as well. Because if I remember correctly, Leonardo DiCaprio he trashed his Prius as soon as the Tesla Model S came out for the first time.
Right. Good. So that's a more specific definition of the segment, right? In the spirit of high end, but with more description. Good, very good. We could
and
very quickly
resources could
describe.
be
Yeah, go ahead.
and the resources could be the technology used in the backend and software.
Absolutely, right. Critical to those resources is the battery technology. Let's start there, right? There is no Tesla without the battery technology and the engineering of that battery into the car. Okay? That makes the Tesla be a high performance car, easy to drive, powerful, long range, right? All these things are driven by the kind of technology, battery technology and engineering that you have inside the car. Okay? So we could map, as you can see in here, right, the business model of Tesla very quickly, and we could add more things in here for sure. But let's keep it simple. As a customer segment is the luxury segment, the high-end segments. There is a question mark because Tesla actually wants to target the mass market, wants to target the middle market, but maybe there is a question mark because it's still not there, right? So it's more something for the near future. The value proposition is clear, right? It's luxury design, high performance, environmentally conscious, with lots of software, self-driving, and a lot of autonomy in terms of range and driving range without recharging, with critical resources such as, again, the technology, both hardware and software. There is it's a car maker, so it needs manufacturing, and it needs distribution, so it needs dealerships, and it needs a brand, right? So it needs some marketing capabilities. And in terms of the revenue model, it's a revenue model that's based on high price, high gross margin, small scale, right? So far, the sales of Tesla are about 1/10 of the sales of other car manufacturers, large car manufacturers, even though they might have more or less the same profitability, right? But at a much, much smaller scale. Right, so you have this business model. We said, this is a framework that helps us analyze the causes of that problem that we talked about at the beginning. Let's apply 3 simple tests, right? One test is what we call product market fit, the external consistency test. And it's a test that is based on the value proposition and the customer segment. And that test is asking yourself a bunch of questions that are all about assessing if what you're offering and the customer match. What you're offering is needed or liked or loved by the customer you're targeting. And it's not an obvious question, right? Many companies struggle with creating a product that actually people want to pay for. And especially if you want to be consistent over time in achieving that. Okay? So the test is how well Tesla's value proposition fits with the customer segment. And here, but as to help this discussion, there's a mosquito flying around my head, sorry. here you can, we can simplify this, and just to get started with the discussion, by launching the second poll, right, which is about, you tell me if you think that there is a lot of match of what Tesla is offering and what customers in that segment want between Tesla and the high-end segment, Tesla in the mass market middle segment, or in both. Do you think the product market fit exists in both types of segments, or it's only in one of them? All right, so I think we're also getting a clear answer. There's still a sizable number of you guys that think that both segments have a good product market fit, but the preference seems to be that Tesla is essentially a product for the high-end segment. Right, so that means that when I'm applying this test, product market fit, right, and I'm evaluating like the offer of Tesla, right, and I'm evaluating the customer needs on the other side, and I'm thinking mass market, right, what do people in the mass market want? Is what Tesla is offering? Maybe some of you, why some of you think that it's only in the high segment? Why do you think Tesla would struggle to achieve this product market fit in the business model with the middle segment? Why do you think that? Give me some thoughts.
Cost of the product.
Right. High price point, right? The middle market wants affordable, high return on investment cars, and Tesla is not necessarily that. The high-end segment doesn't care so much, it's not price sensitive, so that's perfect, right? But in the middle market, that price point might be a problem, right? And that's a problem in terms of product market fit. Very good. Okay. Any other idea in that product market fit with the middle segments?
The supply is much lesser than the demand since the beginning, because it has not been able to manufacture as many as people want. So that could be a problem as well.
Right. If you cannot make the cars, you know, to fulfill the demand, you have a problem. Exactly. And the mass market is a much larger scale type of market. Right. Very good. So see, very quickly, thinking in terms of this test identifies two little weaknesses. It could be major weaknesses of why Tesla might struggle in the middle segments. Now, some of you might think, you know, Tesla's design and Tesla's software and promise and innovation, etc., is good enough for the middle segments. Right? It's something that you can argue, but you know, at some point you're going to find information about customers' choices, about customers' stated preferences that seem to be more on the side of Tesla in the middle market. Right? Doesn't necessarily have a very strong product market fit. Okay. The second test that you can apply to a business model to identify strengths and weaknesses, is what we call the internal consistency test, and that is between the value proposition and the resources. Does Tesla have the capabilities required to deliver that value proposition? And let's go back to those resources that we were stating. Right? When you look at these resources and capabilities, do you think Tesla doesn't have a problem in there?
I don't think Tesla has a problem right now because it's leading the market as the top electric vehicle manufacturer, and especially the high price comes with a high range and like the luxury models. So the value proposition is being matched with the price of the car itself.
Yes. So the price responds to the benefits that Tesla is giving. In terms of this list of resources, you think that Tesla has achieved like high performance in all of them, in all these capabilities?
Sir, I've heard that many of the problems are not being still solved by the Tesla engine.
Where would those problems be? Are these problems of battery technology and engineering mostly?
Yeah, sir. In terms of traffic control and moving through great traffic and identifying.
That's more about the self-driving feature, right?
Yeah.
But that's not battery technology and engineering, that's software. Okay. In
Sir, I've also read
battery
about-
technology, they don't seem to have a lot of problems. Where are the problems coming? Maybe some in software, right? Because it's still a new thing. Where else?
Can I take this up?
Yes.
Okay, so I see that the mass is not complaining about the battery as much as maybe Musk's Twitter activity, etc. So Tesla has become equivalent to Elon Musk, but that should not be the case. There is a problem, I feel, with respect to branding. Tesla in itself should be about the car and not the person who is leading it. The branding, so for example, Tesla does not advertise itself, and there are a lot of things that Tesla also offers, such as the power stations on the road for free for people to charge their batteries on the way, etc. So that could be branded and the strategy can be formed. However, the company is not leveraging those aspects of putting it out there, since the people who are investing in the company may not be the buyers, but they should also care about people who are not customers of the car itself, but they are investors. So the customer perception also matters, but also the audience perception matters.
Good. So there's an issue of branding there, which one could say that it helped Tesla a lot in the past, right? Being identified with a person helped Tesla a lot. Right? It allowed Tesla to get away with certain things, right? And just chase the promises of Elon Musk. And now maybe it's coming back to bite them, right? That same identification of the company with the person, right? I agree. There might be a weakness there, and the actions of Elon Musk might be behind some of that drop in valuation. There is another fundamental glaring weakness in these capabilities, which is on the Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was telling about the driving range. It drops in extreme weather conditions.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily major. It's more like a secondary thing. There is a major thing, which is the manufacturing part. Okay. Tesla is a startup, is a relatively new company, and is competing with companies that have been making cars for decades. Tesla doesn't have the same manufacturing efficiency, the same manufacturing capabilities as those companies. And that is reflected in the level of quality, in the number of cars that you can actually make, right, with that quality. And it's reflected in the costs that they have to sustain, which are not as good as the cost of Toyota, because Toyota has learned how to make cars really efficiently and Tesla hasn't. Now, it's something that you can get away with if you are in the high end of the market, because whatever cost you have, you charge a high price point and you're done, right? You're still making money. But it's a problem that becomes much, much more acute, much more dangerous when you move to the middle market. Because as someone was saying, now you have to make many more cars and you have to make them at a much higher efficiency level, and you can't. And now you have a serious problem. Manufacturing capabilities, right? For a car manufacturer, manufacturing capabilities are an absolutely critical capability, and Tesla has a problem there. Okay? Any other thought about capabilities? I don't know, Abe or Tania, you raise your hand. Okay. This was the second test, right? So you see, asking this question about internal consistency brings out some other weaknesses of the business model. The third test, I mean, we don't have much time to do here because it's more about numbers and getting deep into the numbers, is analyzing Tesla's profit and loss account, understanding where they are spending the money. Are they spending too much money here, too much money there? Do they have good margins? Do they have good sales numbers? And understanding how Tesla actually makes money, right? The choices that they've made in the cars that they make, the target segment, does it reflect into a profitable company? Tesla, at the point it is now, doesn't have major profitability problems, but the question is, if they move into the mass market, can they keep it? Can they keep the same profitability level, right? And that is a very big question mark. So what happens in what we did, right? This analysis that we did, right? We could brainstorm external factors that we read in the newspaper, right? The economic recession, Twitter effect. But the internal factors, right, required a more accurate analysis, right? A much more accurate diagnosis that we did by applying these 3 tests and pulling out some apparent weaknesses of Tesla's strategy, of Tesla's business model. Right? The fact that the product market fit is restricted to high-end segments, mostly. The fact that the manufacturing capabilities are still below average. The fact that the differentiation they have with other car manufacturers is decreasing because the other car manufacturers are just entering, putting out models, looking at what Tesla has done and what others have done and building on that. And maybe Tesla before was the only credible, high-performing electric car. Now it's not. That differentiation with the competitors is diminishing. And the margins are good. In fact, they have very decent margins for a company this young, but at a small scale. So if I'm an investor and I'm looking at Tesla, and I'm looking at Tesla in the future, I'm happy with what Tesla is doing now. But for Tesla to grow, is the high-end segment enough? For Tesla to become a dominant company in the car manufacturing industry, is the high-end segment enough? Probably not. The high-end segment is small. That means that as an investor, I expect Tesla to keep growing into the mass market. But I look at this business model, I look at this analysis, and right now Tesla doesn't seem like it has any kind of strong advantage. Maybe it does 1, 2 in terms of engineering capability, battery technology, but not a lot of advantage relative to the competitors in that mass market. Is that the reason why I would start discounting the value of Tesla when I start seeing that actually what Tesla was promising is not coming to pass? When Tesla promised that they would sell so much and they are not, I start worrying about this product market fit thing that we were talking about. When Tesla says we cannot deliver all the cars that we promised, I start worrying about these manufacturing capabilities. And in fact, these internal factors might be the ones really driving this change in the valuation of Tesla. It's always a combination of things, right? So I buy totally that there is a Twitter effect in there, that is a coming recession, but such a sharp drop many times signals that a lot of investors, a lot of people in the industry start thinking, okay, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we were still sort of giving the benefit of the doubt about Tesla's weaknesses. But now we cannot give that benefit of the doubt anymore. Right? Strategy of Tesla and the business model of Tesla have specific weaknesses that make us very nervous about this valuation, about Tesla being this good. So notice that, and I like how it came out in the poll. The first thing that comes to mind are external factors, always. Right? And I talk a lot to managers. We teach a lot of managers here at IESE Center as well, right? In companies. And anytime you ask them about the situation of their company, etc., they always talk about the environment. They always talk about, the government budget and the government regulations, how they've changed, and what's happening to the economy and to the growth of the country and to the growth of other markets abroad. And it's much harder to think about the actual internal weaknesses and strengths of the company as the drivers of that problem. Right? So we used a framework to diagnose the roots, right? And you have them in here, right? We don't have a lot of time to go further into it or more broadly, but hopefully it's understood what we are trying to do in here, right? In this step. Rohan. Seem to have a question, or Nilanj, one of you has the hand raised. No? Okay. Yeah,
am I
go
audible,
ahead.
sir?
Yes, go ahead, Rohan.
Okay. Hi, sir. Good evening.
Hi.
Here the problem statement for us is why the share price or the stock price has been decreased from November 2022 to the recent time, right? So
In this year, in the past year. Yeah.
So considering the timeline, I think this is the very short time duration, not the very longer time duration. And for the shorter time duration, we could think of both the factors, like as you said, internal factors as well as the external factors. But the primarily the majority causes for the shorter time duration for the problem statement could be the external factors, not the internal factors, because if there is an internal factor, it will cause a profit for an organization for a longer duration.
I agree with the general thing you're saying. I would not call 1 year a short-term period, especially in these days. Right?
Okay.
Not necessarily. I mean, if you're telling me a month, a few weeks, there is a sharp change in the price, then probably something happened, right, outside the company. Sometimes inside the company, but it's mostly like a crisis, right? Something extraordinary. 1 year is enough time for people to start seeing whether Tesla strategy is working or not. Same has happened with Netflix. Netflix was valued in the clouds, high up, until people started seeing that they were not getting enough subscribers as they have promised. And that makes people, this is not an external factor, makes people think about, okay, it seemed like a good business model, but maybe it's not that good. Okay? And they start adjusting that. I want to make clear, I mean, all the things that we have here on the slide, I think contribute to that decrease in valuation in this past year. Okay? All the things we have here, and maybe one or two more. Okay? But notice that 75% of you came up entirely about the first two.
Right.
And probably that was the only thing that you were thinking about.
Right.
And we required more analysis to come up with the second set of factors. Right? That's the right way to go about a case, right? To really cover the space, external, internal. How do we get deep into these factors? How we see, identify the ones that are really driving this problem. Now we have a better picture than we started with. Okay.
Okay.
Good. I want to move to the options. Okay? We don't have a lot of time, and let's have also a few minutes at the end to clarify some things, and you can ask me to go back. And which options does Tesla have to solve the problem? Okay? Let's go directly into the poll. Okay, I'm going to focus you a little bit into my options, right? So I'm going to propose 3 options, but then you're free to, if you see a fourth one that is not there and you really believe in, you can raise your hand and mention it. But let's run the third poll here about what do you think, given this problem, given the roots of the problem that we saw, which option should you think Tesla should do? Number 1, Tesla should stay the course, but simply improve the execution. Same business model, but just do it better. Right? Improve the manufacturing capabilities, etc. Number 2, Tesla should focus on the high end, right? Become a niche company. Right? You're really good there, stay there. Number 3, stop making cars. Just be a battery manufacturer. All right. We are We are getting there. 76% of you give the answer, and it seems like clearly the majority of you think that Tesla is fine. It should improve the execution. Or focus on the high-end segment niche. Yeah, very few people, 8 people out of 200, right, are saying that Tesla should stop making cars and focus on batteries. I want to ask you, and in order to analyze these options, and again, we don't have a lot of time to go one by one and analyze the pros and cons, but in order to analyze these options, we also use frameworks. Right? So at this step, you also pull out some framework, that you have there stored in your mind to help you analyze these options. And we can go back to the same framework that we were using just now to diagnose the problem, right? This business model map and the tests, right? Because if we just saw in our analysis, and maybe you disagreed with what we said, but if we are saying right here, right, that Tesla's product market fit is restricted to high-end segments, tell me why you think Tesla should keep expanding into the mass market and simply try to be more efficient in the execution. Because this to me seems like a pretty big problem for them to continue doing this move towards the mass market when it seems like the mass market is not too interested in what they have to sell. Why do you think Tesla should simply stay the course if moving into this mass market to achieve scale seems very problematic, both in terms of their capabilities and in terms of product market fit? Tell me. Nilanjana?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. You have your right hand raised.
Yes, sir. Actually, I had something else to say about, so I would like to continue it after you finished about this.
Okay. Karm or Abhay?
Hello.
Yeah, Karm, go ahead. Yeah, Karm, go ahead.
So, that's what we analyze, right? In internal factors, that Tesla's product market fit is restricted to high-end segments, and that is what we analyze. That's what the reason for their decline, right? So it's manufacturing capability, right, and execution efficiency, right? So that's what they need to correct, right?
But it's not about execution, right? I mean, product market fit is about strategies. It's not execution. It's not doing the same things better. It's about changing your strategy, right? If you really believe that the product market fit is restricted to high-end segments, the correct option to choose, and I say correct, like the consistent option to choose, I'm not saying is the best option of the three, but I'm saying if you believe that product market fit is restricted to high-end, the consistent option to choose is Tesla should stay in the high-end segment, should be a niche company. Like this is the second option.
Yeah, but if they want to move towards mass market, mass segment, then they need to improve their execution, right? That's how they can improve their prices, right? And that's what
But product market fit is not about execution. Product market fit is about the positioning of the product. They need to change their business model to make cars that are affordable.
Mm-hmm.
If we believe that the mass market is about affordability, Tesla's cars are not the affordable ones. They need to change that, not execute better.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we mean by that. Staying the course and executing better means simply keep expanding into all the segments and making more models and being the most expensive model and high design and luxury design in each one of those models. If we believe that the mass market wants something different, that is not a very good option. It's inconsistent. Okay. Abhay? Paras?
Yeah, because once they have created the Tesla as a premium brand, like the Mercedes, and if it will be available at an affordable price, then it will be more likely to be bought by the mass market also,
Yeah.
because it will be brand and a product as well.
Yeah, but changing the price of Tesla, making it affordable to the mass market, means changing a lot of things in the car.
Yeah, but they are a
Means that
business.
now you have to change the design. You have to become much more efficient in manufacturing that you're not. You have to become like a Toyota. You have to have more distribution, and that's expensive. Right?
But it
Having
will create more revenue, and as a business, they are about to grow, but they are not here just to stay at the same thing. To grow, they need to move into the mass market.
If they want to be bigger in terms of car sales, yes, they need
Yeah.
to move into the mass market. But what I was saying is, it seems that there is a block in there to move into the mass market. They're going to have a problem of being competitive in the mass market if they move in there. That's the part of choosing that option that is sort of not consistent with this analysis that we made.
Like the Maruti Suzuki has adopted some of the Toyota has adopted some of the cars manufactured by the Suzuki, like the Maruti Baleno and the Brezza in India. They are not manufacturing, but they are selling it out on their logo. They are not manufacturing it. It is the Maruti that is manufacturing, and Toyota is selling. And so they can do that. They cannot manufacture. They can outsource it and sell it on their behalf. With their
Fair
logo.
enough. That's an option to consider, right? But now we are moving from this current model to another one.
Okay.
Fair enough. Yeah, very good. Very good. Lucky?
So basically they can Elon Musk is also known for like in SpaceX he is using reusable rockets. So we know that Elon Musk, being an engineer himself, he's capable of making efficient processes to make better cheap cars. So and also Tesla as a company has the like resources to spend in R&D, a lot of R&D to make consumer specific cars. So I think that moving to the mass market segment at first in the EV sector will be beneficial for Tesla.
But they are moving into a mass market where they don't have much of a strength, because what you're mentioning is doing R&D, but how important is R&D in the mass market?
Yeah, of course, they'll have to consider doing a market survey and making more efficient processes of making the car itself, and perhaps even change the sources of their like lithium-ion batteries which they purchase. They have to make the process more streamlined. So that can be an option.
Okay. Okay. I found interesting that none of you thought about the third, or almost like very few people, right, thought about the third option. Right? Give me a little bit of summary of what I think about each option, or what you could come up with when you're discussing the case like this in each one of these options, right? So the idea is we devised 3 different options, we analyze them, right? This is a bit of a summary of that analysis. Option 1, Tesla should stay the course but improve execution to make the same cars more efficiently. Very difficult given the lack of capability on the manufacturing side and the lack of fit with the lower segments and the competitors' actions. Right? Because you could say, well, they learn to manufacture more efficiently. How long will it take? Because all the competitors are already targeting that middle market, and all the competitors are much better at doing things efficiently. And all the competitors have more distribution, more dealerships, and pretty much everything that is required to reach the mass market. What they don't have is the engineering and the battery technology of Tesla, but most of the things they are better at. Right? So that's the problem of this option. On one hand, this option is good because it allows Tesla to grow a lot more. Right? The mass market is the place where they can really get scale, and eventually, with time, they could use that scale to become more efficient. But how long is it going to take? And in the meantime, won't the competitors just get in there and establish a strong position in that mass market with electric cars before Tesla? That's why I see quite a bit of a question mark in that option. And it's not about doing the same thing better, right? It's really about changing your business model. It's a business model that works beautifully when you sell luxury sports car. In the middle market, when you're competing with the Toyota, with the Suzuki, Maruti Suzuki, it's a lot of difficulties to overcome. The second option, stay in the high-end niche segment, easy to execute. They are, tailor-made for that segment. That's perfect. Likely to succeed. The drawback, the problem is that the market is very small. So it definitely does not justify the sky-high valuation of Tesla. If Tesla is meant to be a niche electric car company, the price is 100, not 400. So there's that problem. Number 3, Tesla should stop making cars and focus on selling batteries. When you think about what is Tesla really good at, making batteries. That's what they're good at. They're not that great at selling cars. At least when we talk about like selling cars in the big leagues, right? In the niche, yes, but they're not that great at selling cars. They don't have the distribution. The marketing, the brand, we see, right? What happens? It's not an established, trustworthy brand. It just comes and goes with the founder. So there are problems, but those problems don't apply to the battery manufacturing. Tesla has a lot of capacity for manufacturing batteries. They've built factories for that. They are good at putting the battery inside the car, right? Engineering the battery into the car, creating a powertrain and for an electric car. So Tesla becoming a tech company that makes hardware and software for cars, for other manufacturers' cars, actually, I think it would justify a high valuation. And it would fit much better with the capabilities of Tesla. And here's where you can think of analogies, right? What did Intel do decades ago? What did Intel, right? The company that makes microchips, microprocessors, did. They said, making computers is not going to be our business. We're going to pull back and become simply the manufacturer of one of the components, one of the critical components of the computer, a microchip. And they became pretty much the monopoly on that. How did it work out for them? Does Intel make more money than any computer manufacturer like HP or Dell or Acer? Yes, much, much more. So focusing on your capabilities and creating a business model that would be very different from making cars, but it's basically selling batteries and powertrains to other car companies, is an option that should be absolutely considered. Right? Absolutely considered. Thoughts? Any thought? We're reaching the end of our session. Anybody who's raised a hand, just go ahead. Thoughts on this or on any other thing? Someone said, I want to talk about something after you finish this. Go ahead. Somebody? Haridut.
Sir?
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah.
What about the large scale infrastructure that is needed? Like if Tesla should stay the same course and improve execution, shouldn't they also be like the number of charging stations needed, the network of roadside services? Because certain companies such as Maruti, they have 24-hour roadside service. If they are supposed to expand, they also need a large number of they basically need a huge infrastructure, and so that is also going to take more time.
True. You can add that to the lack of capability of Tesla to target the mass market, right? Absolutely. That reinforces that argument. Very good. Yes. Very good. Sartak?
So I think that should be a good argument for option number 3.
Option number 3
because
or
it's
2.
going to take a lot more funding, a lot more experience.
True.
I think that would make up a really good option number 3.
True. Good. Sartak? Yeah.
Sir, I'm against point number 3 because Tesla's whole brand image is about providing electric solutions of that that we will provide you with cars through which you can save fuel and protect the environment. And also its whole brand positioning is about selling electric cars. So it's a very difficult decision to shift towards battery. And also Musk has spent so much time since a decade to consolidate this brand position, and also he's developing on this brand position by promising his investors with like he has brought Twitter to enhance his brand image of Tesla. Like he will collaborate with Tesla and Twitter and use its Twitter to make a stronger brand image for Tesla. Also, I think, sir, that one thing we could have also discussed in this case study is that there was a time when Tesla was considering coming to India. So at that time, Tesla took a decision that it will not come to India unless it is provided with the permission to to export all the components and just assemble it here in India or something like that. So, sir, do we have any opinion? Should we consider that those kind of policies in these kind of discussions, sir?
We can. In the context of pros and cons for choosing one thing or the other, right? So, if we have to stay the course and improve execution, like what is the best way to do that? Like, where do we move production? How do we take into account the limits, the constraints to that moving into better places to produce, etc.? Yeah. So these are all factors that we can include in the analysis. But I've been constantly warning you in this conversation, and I mean, if you take anything from here, is see how easily when you respond to a question, you start mentioning 3-4 things, right, in the same breath, right? And those 4 things, each one of them is like a factor in itself, right? So do you have a way to organize those thoughts, organize those factors? Right? Because otherwise it's like a bunch of stuff all, put in the same place as an argument, and it doesn't sound as strong as if you are able to pick of those 4 or 5 factors, which one is the one that really matters? Which one is the one really driving the diagnosis, the problem, or which one is the key one to consider when providing a solution? Okay? But good. I mean, what you said.
Sir, also one more thing I wanted to ask. Should we consider government policies like European government is
Yeah. When you're diagnosing the problem, you should consider the external environments, among them government policies. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir, you have mentioned that in the third option that it has better capabilities of battery. But how could we access got to know that they have better capabilities of battery?
Because they've been at it the longest, or one of the longest among car companies. And they've actually tested that technology constantly, right? Because they sell the cars, whereas other companies are still in the R&D phase for that. And really, like in terms of range, in terms of performance, the battery technology and the engineering of Tesla is outstanding. That's why they succeeded in the high-end segment. The high-end segment is not about people who are looking to save fuel. The high-end segment is people who want to drive fast. And they succeeded there. So definitely in terms of the hardware of the car, they probably know a lot relative to competitors. And their technology, battery technology, is not the only one, and maybe there are technologies that are slightly superior, but it's good enough to become the standard.
So,
and that would give them a lot of power in the industry if that technology becomes the standard to many car brands. Right? Because then you can forget about marketing, and you can forget about branding, and you can forget about distribution, you can forget about charging stations, and you just focus on what's most valuable in an electric car. So the margins are fantastic, just like microchips margins were fantastic. Yeah, go ahead. Someone was talking. Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to propose another course of action. So while we are zeroing down on just one aspect, that the execution is poor. So what Apple did, it never actually focused on its poor qualities, such as the charging that doesn't last, or the memory issues that the storage is very less, until iPhone 13 or 14 came in. Before that, they stuck to same software or the same problems, while actually bringing in other solutions, such as to bring in the SE models to have more customers from the lower ends of the same audience, and creating brand loyalists while not actually focusing on the internal problems. So they actually made a huge market while perfecting themselves. That is something that Tesla could do as well, to bring in brand loyalists, people who would not care about these existing problems and would
Certainly.
still want the status symbol.
Certainly. So the critical question that you should answer in there, I mean, that's a good proposal. But the critical piece of analysis that should come in there is how big is that segment of people who don't care about price. Apple found that for smartphones, that is a very large segment. Right? Surprisingly, people don't care about how much money they spend on a smartphone. Right? It's not a very price sensitive segment in the mass market. Right? So that means that Apple can dominate with a very high price. Is the same case the mass market in the car industry? That's the analysis that you have to make. How much of that mass market is not price sensitive? How much of that mass market, as long as you give them a really premium brand with lots of benefits and great image, they will buy at a high price. I think the car industry is slightly different than the smartphone industry in that sense, but it's a matter of analysis. Okay. Good point. So to conclude, last step, right? Remember, in the 5 steps, the action plan, right? So let's suppose that we choose, because I get to do the slide, so I get to choose out of the 3 one of them. Let's suppose that we think the right option is Tesla should stop making cars and focus on selling batteries. So what would be a very short action plan to implement that? Increase the R&D in software, right? So if we become a tech company for the car industry, now we have to develop capabilities both in the battery technology and in the software that we put in the car. And we can sell both, right? So invest in software, invest in battery powertrain manufacturing capacity. So we start building factories that don't make cars, they make batteries and powertrains, which Tesla is already done, right? And we continue doing so. Make Tesla's technology the industry standard. This is really important. One of the things that Tesla was doing in that sense was opening up the patents to everybody. Why does it make sense to open up protected patents to everybody? Because if everybody adopts that technology, Tesla wins. And it facilitates selling that technology to other car companies. So making that technology the industry standard is a priority. And then limit model launches and car sales. So if you think that option 3 is too extreme, take 2 and 3 together, right? Tesla can keep making some cars, but where the business is really going to be in terms of growth and in terms of profit is in option number 3. Okay? That would be a very decent, very good final conclusion in your case analysis of a problem like this. And when you say, I think 2 and 3 are attractive, I see a lot of problems in 1, you could go the other way. Yeah? I mean, if I hear you defending option 1 well, I'm good with that. I'm good with that analysis. Okay, but 2 and 3, and with these options at the end as implementation plan. Okay? So as you see, using this example and in a very short time, using structure, right, we've uncovered things that simply brainstorming around and throwing concepts and pieces of information at each other, we probably would not have gotten. And that's, I think, the advantage of discussing and analyzing a case using frameworks and a structure that leads to a better analysis. Okay? That's the conclusion. Okay? So now you might have questions about this. So let's have a few minutes, and obviously happy to stay a few minutes answering your questions. And if anybody is happy already with this, because we are done with the analysis, with the content part of this session, so you can happily log off as well. Go ahead. Who wants to start with questions? I see a lot of hands raised, but then when I call the names, sometimes I don't get back. Yeah, Lucky, go ahead. No, Umang.
Hello, am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So with regards to the solution, what I was considering as well is, even if Tesla wants to be in the niche market, still they would have to put in more efforts into R&D and developing more new supercars. And if they can acquire a small company and also work with them to make an efficient car for the mass market, so that that company can be under Tesla's umbrella and Tesla can get the benefits of both of the mass market as well as selling in the niche market. So what's your opinion on that? Is that a possible solution?
So your proposal is to buy a company that knows how to sell in the mass market and use it to be there, instead of keep Tesla for the high end and just use that. That's
Yeah.
what we're saying.
Yes.
So yeah, that is as an option to consider. It's good, right? I mean, you should keep that as a go-to generator of options, right? Just buy a company that knows how to do what we don't know how to do, right? That's always a good way of thinking. What I would be worried about that is, once you buy that company that is very efficient in manufacturing, and actually you could, because at some point your valuation, a year ago, 2 years ago, was bigger than the other top 12 car manufacturers combined, right? So
Yeah.
your valuation allows you to buy a lot of car manufacturers, right? At that point. But once you buy them, what do you do with them? You don't know how to run them.
Right.
What you are an engineer that's focused on making a really great electric car. You don't know how to run a middle of the market company. So you have a little bit the same problem, right? It's just that you can shorten the times because you've bought the resources, you've bought the assets, but you still need to figure out how we're going to make a Tesla, an electric car that is differentiated, that is superior with what this company does, right? You still have a little bit of a problem there. But as a shortcut to acquiring things that you don't have, buying a company is always a good thing to keep in mind. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nilanjan? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Rudraksh.
Yeah. And then Nilanjan. Okay, Rudraksh first.
Basically, I don't actually have a question about this case, but like case studies in general. So I have been working on this case about the semiconductor shortage going across the world. So important question for us is to make an executive summary for the same. So what kind of things can we include in an executive summary? If you could name
very simply, if you follow these 5 steps in the executive summary, right?
All right.
You have a great executive summary.
Okay, so we just need to define the problem then.
But if you say this is the problem and it's due to these causes and these are the 3 things that they could do, and I think this one is the best because A, B, C, D, E, F, and this would be a good way of implementing it, that's a perfect executive summary of your analysis.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
You too. And Nilanjana? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Hello. Thank you, sir. So I wanted to conclude a thing that if we start by considering the second option, that we are expanding in the mass market,
okay,
I think that will really damage the sentiment of the company, the brand, because they have created it's a luxury brand. It will affect the sense of lifestyle for the high-end market, because it's their lifestyle. And I think that will in general will damage the reputation of the brand. So what they can do, if they want to expand in the mass market, they can maybe create a in-house brand, a separate sector where they will produce cars even with different fuel options, petrol, diesels, and everything. That can be an option if they want to expand in the mass market.
Fair enough. Yes, you say there is an additional problem in that the brand image doesn't correspond with that segment, and we need to add another brand. Fair. Yeah, absolutely.
And also, but if we consider the first option, and I think that one of the main problem is with their branding, because it's very much related to just one person. So they may consider doing rebranding. And is there a possibility of shift in leadership? Do you think that can help the company in the long run? And also one point.
If the leader is the one stuck on a strategy that people think it's not going to work in the future, then you need to change. If the leader is not good at driving good execution, and you think execution, besides the choices that you make, is still very important, you need to change the leader, right? And if the leader is hurting your brand, you need to change the leader. So there are many reasons why probably we're going to see a new CEO, not too far in the future. But when you say, let's create another brand, yeah, but that's also very difficult.
Yeah, like in-house brand or something.
Creating
like
a new brand from scratch to sell electric cars in the mass market is very difficult.
Not
to
just
compete,
electric
to
cars,
compete
that
with the
will be
giant manufacturers.
that would be selling different cars, not EV, but different sector they can enter with the in-house brand.
Similar problems.
Okay. And so one more thing, I think if we consider the external factor, that they can try expanding in different countries rather than in mass market. They can target different countries with the high-end luxury value.
Yes, absolutely. That's a sub option in that option of staying in the niche. Yes, absolutely. Good. Who else was there? In India.
Yeah, hi, David.
Oh, Abe. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So one of the things that I really wanted to tell about the Tesla as a brand is started off, of course, with the high performance sports car was the Roadster. Then they went on, they made the Model S, which was the most expensive one. And
all right.
of course, they
Sorry. I gotta ask you all, you guys, be brief in the question. Don't
of course. I'm sorry, it's not a question, but what I meant to say is that there are, as far as the options are concerned, my views are more strongly with the first one because they are trying to access the Asian market, which is one of the most untapped markets as far as Tesla's strategy is concerned. So you see the strategies on mark. The only thing is that they're not able to really enter the markets, maybe because of government policies, etc. And to be honest, when we talk about the third option, wherein they should go solely into battery production, remember they already do make the batteries. We have 5 gigafactories. Pretty much by the time maybe in another few years they're going to keep making more of these. And as far as diversifying the brand is concerned, they have the option of going for mergers and acquisitions. They don't have to create a sub brand. Tesla as a brand is known. If they make a sub brand, they kind of diminish the value of Tesla. So what they can do is they just acquire a company, like you rightly said, and just capitalize on the manufacturing capabilities of that newfound, newly acquired company. So
yes, fair enough. And you kind of will talk about different things in along the argument. So my first answer is some of the things you say make a lot of sense. One thing I would stress, and I think it's a lesson in general on analyzing cases and in general in strategy, in looking at big complex problems in business and about products, is from what I'm gathering in this discussion, okay? You guys might have a little bit of bias in thinking about government regulations and, again, external factors that block Tesla from a market or doesn't, competitors things, etc. And maybe you are underestimating the product market fit. Okay? So like Tesla, let's say, is given free entry into China or into any country. Is this a guarantee that it's going to work? The fact that there are no regulations stopping them from being there? Probably the thing that's going to make it or break it for them is whether they are making a product that the people in that country really want and really need. And that's a core question in every single business that you never can underestimate in a case analysis.
Of course.
It's like there's a lot of factors and noise and execution and leaders and
Yeah.
But at the end, it's, are you making a product that 30% of this market really, really would like? And that's, if you can do analysis on that, like, you're gonna look golden, because it's the most important question. Then if there is a regulation that comes and goes, blocks you from there, but let's suppose the regulations go away, you still have a product that doesn't work in that market. Or you still have a product that you cannot sell at a profit because it's too expensive to produce. And you still have a problem. So good. I mean, good comment. I think it gave me an entry into this point, right? That I think it's very important, because I hear this a lot. Okay, good. And India?
Yeah, hello, am I audible?
Yes.
So I had a doubt. Now, at the last, we reached to the conclusion that if Tesla is switching to battery manufacturing and all rather than developing cars, it might be a better solution. But I had a doubt, like Tesla started with car manufacturing. So in case he is shifting his like aim from car to battery manufacturing, so won't that affect the reputation of the car? Like people might start to think their car is not that much reliable, or their battery is not reliable. Won't that create a negative image on what Tesla has built, or the reputation Tesla has right now?
In a way, you're changing your brand image, so there's always going to be some downside to that. As my answer would be, if you are not focusing on selling cars, the fact that people think that maybe now Tesla is less of a car manufacturing is not really a problem, right?
Yeah,
because you're not going to be selling too many cars. So, you know, it is a very big problem when people think that, when you are focusing on selling a lot of cars in the middle market. But if you are saying, I'm going to be a B2B company, I would not worry too much about the brand in that case. I would worry about,
yeah, in that case, it makes
ties
sense.
with car manufacturers and making the best batteries, so they have to buy it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Good point. Haridut? Sorry, before that, I mean, I saw that you wrote things in the chat just for the you know, to read some, and they are good. I mean, shouldn't one option be not to go for it? Not every decision about taking action. Absolutely. One option should be, as we had in here, just continue doing what you're doing. Don't do anything different. Arihan says, can you mention some frameworks used to often to diagnose the problem? That requires time, right? It requires a course in looking at those frameworks. I mentioned some in one slide where I talked about Porter's 5 forces and Pestel and these 3 tests, right? So I tried to offer just a little bit, but there are many frameworks to use in analysis. Some are about product launching, some are about looking into marketing, some are about operations, some about more generic frameworks. So you learn them as you get into a program. Are there better methods to identify viable options? Ankush is asking. They're not really methods to identify options. Sometimes some frameworks allow you to identify options. So there's like a growth matrix, right? That tells you the way companies grow is by launching the same products in different countries, or the different products in different countries, or same product, different products in the same country. So that you have 4 options, you know, coming out of that matrix, right? So sometimes frameworks help, but the idea is to just try to cover the spectrum of possibilities, right? And it requires a little bit of creativity on that at some point. Yeah, so Haridat, you want to ask a question?
Yes, sir. Sir, I have another proposal. They continue making cars for the high-end segment, and they start selling the batteries and the entire technology suite that comes equipped with autonomous technology. Because they'd be putting more R&D into that anyways, they could also expand into the other sectors where such high-end technology is required, like drones, for example, where batteries are important, as well as the LiDAR and the other sensors, and the whole suite of autonomous is required. They could
Yeah.
also expand into other places such as aircraft or aerospace, even in general, where expensive, a huge amount of funding is justified, larger evaluations are justified. Also, they would also be able to generate a much higher revenue while simultaneously retaining their high-end customer base.
Yes.
What is your take on this?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense to, when you develop a very strong capability in something that is that cuts across industries, it makes sense to have a strategy that, you know, sells to all those industries. It's easier said than done, because sometimes it's you know, relationships with clients and understanding the market and some minor changes you have to make to the technology that are critical to selling well in that industry. So it's not that simply because you have a good battery, now you can sell batteries to any industry. But it's definitely an option to consider. Definitely. And you're going to find 2 or 3 industries that, yeah, it makes sense to extend into, right? To enter into, doing the same thing.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, who else? Sorry, Tejas, you mentioned in the chat, and I don't know if you wanted to ask it, but sometimes you say sometimes while solving a case, we get stuck at 1 or 2 solutions and try to defend it when we get the other solution. How can we tackle that? What do you mean exactly? I think there's something to say in here, but I want to make sure that I understand. Tejas?
Yeah, like here we got like first of when we started with that Tesla problem,
Yeah.
I got stuck at the second solution, and I was trying to defend it while considering the other solution. Like, how can we grow in that second only and
Yeah.
neglecting the importance of others? So while doing that, how can we tackle this?
So a good way to go about this is create 3 options that are different from each other, right? That cover sort of all the possibilities, all the spectrum.
Okay.
And then try to defend each one of them as if it was the one you're going to choose.
Okay.
Or try to attack each one of them as it is the one that you don't want to choose, right? But be very neutral in the approach of the analysis, right? Don't get stuck in the one that you prefer right at the beginning.
Oh.
The more neutral you are in assessing each one of them and then choosing the one that the analysis tells you makes the most sense, the better.
Great.
So treat each one the same as if it's your option, right? And I'm going to try to make the argument for this one, and now I'm going to try to make the argument for the next one, and that's how you analyze each one of them. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Good. All right. We have time for 1 or 2 more questions. I think we reached the end of the session. By the way, Kshitij, you have a very interesting question. I don't know if you're still here, but you say, sir, the internal factors are always there. Then why did a company rise in the first place? That's a very good point. Tesla has always been the same company, right? But there were question marks about whether that company could achieve something in the middle market. There were question marks. And over time, those question marks get solved, or you get evidence, right, regarding those questions. So there was always a question of how can Tesla with this business model reach the mass market? Because that was an intention of Elon Musk right at the beginning. We want to reach the mass market. So there was always that question. So you observe the company over the years, right? When are they launching the models? Are they launching models into the next segment? Is that model being adopted in the next segment, right? Do people like it? Do people buy it? Can they manufacture at capacity, right? Can they manufacture? Are their costs getting better and better over time? So you observe this. And at some point, there's enough evidence to say, okay, no, right? Those question marks are like actually negatives, right? They cannot do it. And then the reevaluation comes. Right? So there is that uncertainty. And that's why at the beginning, it seemed like something to bet on. And later, it seems like, no, that bet didn't turn out to be.
Hello, sir. Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yeah.
Hi, sir. So my question is regarding, sir, reaching to the masses,
Yeah.
or what I wanted to say, like, if we what's your take on this? I would like to ask I would like to ask this situation, that when we have a product and we have to improve it, and then we have to make it sell it to the masses, and to grab the mass market in the society or in the market segment, and to the converse of this, we are developing a new product and we are reaching out with the new product, and we are grabbing the new mass market. So I think according to me the readily available product, and some kind of improvement and execution to make some kind of efforts to reach it to the mass market is more easily available, and we can do it at a we can do it at a low cost, I think. Also,
It depends on how many things you have to change in that product, right?
Okay.
Changing the current Tesla business model to reach the mass market effectively requires a lot of change, very significant changes, and that might not be possible. Okay, can you make the same quality of car with the same performance, etc., 30% cheaper? You probably cannot.
But
so yeah, you can change
developing a
things,
new
but you're
product-
not going to reach the cost level of a Toyota, and you're not going to be able to sell it at the price point of a Toyota.
Also, the geography of the product, location of the product where we are going to launch that, and the customer segment, that also matters a lot, because there are in a middle class or the mid-range income group, what we can see, the customer sentiments over the period of time, they tends to buy the affordable, they tends to prefer the affordable. But if they have some kind of if they have the money and they have some kind of patience, then they can definitely go for a higher end products. So this is the actual market condition or the market segment, customer segment, and basically I found that the customer segment is very huge for the particular thing in India.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you need to analyze that customer segment and the needs and the preferences, and be very responsive to that. I mean, the product market fit is a crucial part of the success of a business model.
So developing the new product is also having a lot of limitations and lot of challenges, and going to the mass market.
Yeah, but you start from scratch, right? So you have more freedom to design the product according to the needs, instead of trying to forcing an existing product that is very different into those needs. So sometimes it's just starting from scratch is better. So I would be very neutral about what is better in general.
Okay.
Either one. Yeah. Nilanj?
Sir, I think you are from Mumbai. You stays in Mumbai, I guess.
Yes.
Would love to invite you at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai.
Would love to go. Yes, please.
So
write to me.
Sir,
write to me by email.
Sir, email ID, please.
Sure. I'll type it in the chat. Aditya, you had a comment in the chat that if we go for both 2 and 3, then will other car manufacturers buy batteries from Tesla, which is the competitor? They might if we go for 2 and we stay in the niche with a very light presence. So we're not really threatening Toyota, right? We're not threatening, Ford or Peugeot or Nissan, because we are that manufacturer that makes just a few cars in a niche, high-end niche. So there's a way to do 2 and 3 without necessarily getting into a conflict with selling to large car manufacturers. Nilanj? Okay. Very good.
Hi, sir. Also, I would Ron this side.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to ask for the models you have shared. You just have showed in the PPTs or slides that this model fits for choosing this option. So there are, I think, a lot of models and lot of stuff is there, background to approach the any kind of case study, So I think we would request you to provide those model for our future study, or what we can say.
Yeah, that's a bit more difficult because basically it's a book, right? And I don't have them in the slides. That's the content of our program, the content of our courses in here, right? So and you can find them. You read books on strategy, you read books on solving cases. Even you have frameworks there already. Right? So I would suggest that you go.
Any resource suggested, sir?
There are these books that business schools, some business schools published about solving cases, and there's a lot of frameworks in there already. If anybody wants to write further and communicate, this is my email address. And I think we're good. We can wrap the session. And thank you, everybody, whoever is left, for staying. It's been a pleasure, and happy to talk to you, and hope to see many of you in the program in the future. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor.
Sir, unable to see the mail ID.
Rohan, it's in the chat section.
Oh, maybe it's not to everyone. 1 second.
What?
Yeah. Now should be to everyone. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Professor. It was
Thank you.
very insightful and very long. I think we did extend on the time, but very, very insightful. Thanks a lot to everybody for participating.